Good evening, and good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. This is WeatherBrains episode number 734 for the 10th of February, 2020. And I am barely functioning here. My lights aren't working. My brain's not working. I have been away from work for several days with a viral infection, influenza. I have not had influenza in a long time, and I don't know what went wrong this year. I get the flu shot every year, and I'm in a school every day, at least one school, most days two schools. And, about the time you think you get your immunity all built up and you're never going to get sick again, look what happens. You get sick. I have not been that sick since January of 1979. That goes back a long way. I was 22 working at WSFA TV in Montgomery, Alabama, and I thought I was dying. I think my fever was 105 at one point during that thing, but this was brutal. It is just bad. I hope that you or your family are not having to deal with this, because it is just no fun. So I am operating. Well, let me put it this way. When I came into work today, I was operating at about 62% capacity, probably down to about 44% capacity right now, because we have had a flood day down here. No rest for the weary. But yeah, my lights aren't working. It's just like it's not my night. So let's get our folks on the show here, because it is time to do that, and I'll kind of let them take over. I'm not going to participate much because I got to save what I've got for TV later tonight. I got to do one more TV newscast back here, and we still got some weather issues with flooding. So let's bring everybody on board, and just maybe everybody will be here this week. Okay, they have now been invited. Yeah, funny, when you're away for a few days, everything falls apart. The lights don't work, but that's okay. I always say, for a guy with no hair, we always look better in the dark. Yeah, in fact, I brag all the time. I don't get sick. I've not used a sick day in, I would say, 21 years. And when I did, it was just one. It was a sinus infection. I get those every once in a while, but virus, no, it just does not happen forever. But man, when this one hit, it went down quick. This was Wednesday of last week. Went to the dentist early in the morning, went to do a program for the big children's hospital here for the patients and their families. And then I went to an elementary school. And then, Bill, you look like Spock there or something. Wow.
What's something? Are you feeling better?
I'm about 44% capacity right now, so it's not too good, but that beats 2%, which is what I had last week.
Lost James's.
It was brutal. I have not been that sick in 40 years.
Don't say it.
So, Bill, what's going on here? You look like Spock.
Yeah, set that little choose a virtual background earlier. That one's probably very appropriate for our guests tonight, even though one of our guests isn't going to be able to join us because of the flooding.
But, your big problem, your mic makes your head looks like it's totally lopsided.
Yeah, well, let's work on that.
See
the mic now?
No, we see a head that's occasionally looking very odd, like an alien.
Let's see if we can undo that. How about this? Is that better?
Yeah.
There we go. Well, our house flooded today, James.
Oh, boy.
4 hours. Me building dams, moving. It moved. It looked like the 1976 flood in Estes Park. I did not know there was that much gravel in our backyard, and it was in our driveway when it's over.
Oh boy. So everybody's going to be good and cranky tonight.
Yeah, and I got to do the weather all night, so it's going to be a long night. So we got one of our students there. There's Dr. John Scala. Is that Dean? Can you hear us?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good, Dean. Oh, that's Elliot. Hey, Elliot.
Hey.
All right. That's good. I like that American flag back there, buddy.
Thanks.
There's Dean. Got Dean and
John,
Elliot now.
is this your new studio, John?
Oh, that's right. You got a new house.
That's my new kitchen.
Well, new studio, new kitchen. It's the same. I mean, you know.
Haven't set up the office yet. I'm still working on it.
You got to take us on a tour, Dr. John.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it like HGTV? Where you did you get to do all kind of cool things to the floors and the cabinets and stuff?
Yeah, we're doing a lot of that. Yeah, the view out the back is really what sold us on this house. It's spectacular.
We have we've had 9 inches of rain in the past 5 days.
Oh man.
So we had serious flooding today.
We have a 2-hour delay tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know you were just heartbroken about that, weren't you?
Yeah, right.
Elliot? I heard cheers upstairs. I knew something big had happened. And I didn't think it was the South Carolina women's basketball game. I figured it was a 2-hour delay, or I was hoping for school just closed tomorrow. That would be even better. I bet you were hoping for that too, weren't you guys?
Same.
Yes, sir.
Well, where's your teacher? Y'all leave her
Not
behind?
sure. Yeah, we're still waiting on 2 people.
Do you boneheads play baseball?
I do.
What position you play?
I normally play catcher or third base.
Wow.
The hot
Excellent.
corner.
Okay.
Got a good future playing catcher. Well, we know if you got the invite, guys, you got it from your teacher, because I can't send an invite directly to you. So she had to have gotten the invite. So she should be along in a minute.
Yeah. And then we're still waiting on Tatum, so 2 people.
We need Tatum. These are amazing young people right here, guys. They successfully flew another balloon mission this year.
Here we are. Hey, everybody.
There,
Hello.
Macalilly. Still at school after all these hours, right?
After all these hours, my home away from home.
She never goes home. And you probably don't, teaching robotics too on top of everything else now.
It feels like it sometimes.
We need Tatum.
There's Dean.
So, I already know. Hold on. I gotta do something.
Okay.
Time to do a chore. Take the trash
No,
out.
I have to invoke my child safe regulations here, Bill. I have to follow certain rules.
You do?
Yes. So
What kind of rules does that make us have to follow? James?
it's like I can't talk to him like I have to have a number of adults
No, exactly.
in the
what it's-
room. No, it's like I'm telling you, it is a different world, and
Even
I'm
virtually?
so yeah, it is different. That's why I can't ask him much more than can you play baseball and blah 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 blah. So
Wow.
Can I
it's a
ask
really.
Can I?
I'm sorry.
Do you have something you want me to ask them for you?
Oh no, I can ask him, legitimate questions. I just can't be sarcastic or say anything funny or.
We would
It's
never
just
do
kinda-
that
You're
anyway.
used to me being sarcastic, right, Dean?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, James, I don't know if you recall this, but we did this WeatherBrains show in 2016.
4
And-
years ago.
And we were talking about the first launch, and you said to me, I quote you all the time, you said, well, that's off the chain on the cool factor, but the likelihood of it working is pretty slim. And I said, if I knew then what I know now, I never would have attempted it. But I didn't know. And once you have a successful launch, you get hooked. So
See, that's the best part. It's like when man went to the moon, when they took that mission, Apollo, to the moon, they didn't know any better. I mean, goodness, think of the odds against these guys. Every one of those missions was fraught with danger. And they just didn't know any better. And a bunch of 20-something engineers, they got it done. And
They
so
could
it's
have
the
run
same-
out of fuel in that last approach to the moon.
Just
11.
and
They
not
would-
the
15 seconds of run out of fuel.
But you go back and look at Mercury and Gemini and all those missions that led up to the Apollo program and how dangerous
Yeah.
those things were and how many.
Well,
And of course,
Well, the
Apollo
fire
1
in
was
the capsule, you know.
Apollo 1 was a horrible tragedy, but still, I mean, they got it done. They accomplished what the president wanted: man on the moon by the end of the decade of the
decade.
60s.
Right.
Yeah.
And they learned from every mistake, and they learned fast. You know, they fixed the problem.
They solved problems. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the
And
remarkable
let's-
thing to me is not just getting to the moon. It's the fact that they got back off, escaped the moon's gravity in just the right trajectory, and we're able to get back into our gravitational field is just as remarkable as getting there.
And did all these course corrections and things, you know, putting in just, you know, digits into a rudimentary computer that can't
That's right.
hold a candle to what we have in our pockets.
I was thinking the same thing, Bill. This is so powerful compared to what landed those guys on the moon.
Oh, even in the early days, of the trench, they were using slide rules.
It's slide rules, exactly.
Who knows what a slide rule is anymore?
Well,
I
then
mean,
you
it's
go
just-
back to those ladies in the Hidden Figures movie and how important they were. You know,
Oh, did you see that movie?
oh, it's spectacular.
Spectacular, isn't it?
Yeah.
What a great movie.
We've
But,
lost
well-
Elliot and Tatum. Dean, you're still in.
I see Dean and Elliot, but never have had Tatum. Back on the-
Tatum just joined.
Oh, is she here? Oh,
There we go.
I that's my bad because I don't have the little Brady Bunch scene up there.
There you go.
I could only see the 5 people. I couldn't see everybody. Troy came and knocked all the books off when he entered the room. So now I can
Let's
see
get this thing.
It ain't the
Let's
first
get
time.
this thing started. And welcome to our television viewers, by the way. All right. Let's get recorder track number 1 going, number 2. And here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is WeatherBrains episode number 734. This is the weekly show that is all about weather. This is for the 10th of February, 2020. James here, working at about 44% capacity after coming down with the bubonic plague. Troy, ever had the bubonic plague before?
No, hadn't had that one yet, James.
No, I've not had a viral infection in probably 25 years. I forgot what it's like to have one. And, after being in schools every day and you're exposed to everything, you get the flu shot. You just, after a while, you figure you're not going to get again. And all of a sudden, boom. I mean, it hit hard last week on a very active weather day. And when I went down, I was down. And so I am slowly coming back up. It's kind of like Apollo 13 blowing up on the way to the moon. The systems are trying to come back up here. So anyway, Troy, what's happening in Austin, Texas tonight? Raining a little bit?
Kind of a chilly night. I'm just noticing that Dr. John and I are kind of stacked up above one another. Look at in both cases, what fine sets of hair.
Wow.
Look at this. I mean, come
Wow.
on. Now
But
the weather's
now,
good.
Troy, John has the hair of an angel, nothing personal. I mean, you got good
You're
hair, but
fixing
not
to
quite to
attack
that
my
level.
hair.
I'm just saying you don't have the hair of an angel like John. You're number 2 here.
Oh wow! I've just been.
You've been demoted. in the
depressed.
hair department. Yeah.
I'll have you
But
know
I
I
will
color
say-
this for you, James. I color this
For
for
a
you.
man your age, nobody should have hair that good looking. That goes for both of you guys.
No, it's kind of been kind of a chilly day. We had a cold front that slipped through about 7 or 8 o'clock this morning, 70 then, and very shallow wedge of cooler air in the 50s now, or actually in the 40s now, and looking for a round of thunderstorms, potentially a couple of inches of rain, maybe some heavier rain, which would be very beneficial around Austin because we need it because of the drought condition ongoing. So.
And look who's back on the show, Dr. John, and his
Wow.
brand new digs.
There you go. Got the new
So
home
give us-
here.
Give us a tour.
Well, I will do that. I'm not sure how much you can see right now. That's my hand, but there's the kitchen.
Ooh.
And if I could show you the outside, I would. But one of the reasons why we bought this property is it's about 3 acres, and a lot of it out back is got some wetlands and great wildlife out here. And we're just about 3-4 miles away from 1,000 feet above sea level. So it's a really spectacular place to be. But I'm still looking for the sun. This is
I've got
absurd.
a question for you. I mean, when did you move?
Oh, in the last few weeks.
Why don't I see boxes back there? You've never been to the Kimmel house. We leave things boxed up for about 5 years. You know, we move. Y'all are doing pretty well getting things boxed. Yeah.
We did a lot of
Christmas tree up, Troy.
Well, truth be told, we did a lot of the move ourselves, and
Yeah.
we scheduled it in advance so we could rent a truck. And of course, that was the weekend of the ice storm. You know, only to a CCM or a meteorologist would that happen, right?
Yep.
That's
But we're
the way
doing
it
well.
works.
Yep.
Well, that's great, John. Good to have you back on the show. Bill, bring in our guest here. Let's talk balloons. Up and away.
We're on flood watch here tonight, and I'm watching
He's watching
another band of heavy rain, James, moving up from Tuscaloosa that's going to get my house again. And we had 4.31 inches of rain this afternoon.
I was going to ask. There was pretty good rain in there. I saw that. Yeah.
I just I just cannot even take it. And we flooded severely. If I had not been out there for 4 hours digging and moving gravel and freezing my buns off, we would probably be underwater.
You know, we were actually under a WPC high risk of flooding today.
Wow.
Which is very unusual.
Yeah, that's a
you don't see
significant
those.
And still another 4.5 inches of rain possible overnight. So I'm not excited. So, but
I don't think we're going to get that much. I don't
know. I think you get about an inch and a half out of this next band that's going to come through here.
Well, I mean, if you do, Bill, you can always call on us to come. Never mind. You say in the middle of the night.
Yeah, come on, Troy, come help me. But I am excited about our guest tonight because Diane McAlilly is one of the excellent 6th grade science teachers at Bazitz Middle School in Vestavia here in Birmingham. And she's joined tonight by 3 of her outstanding 6th graders. Tatum Osborne. Tatum, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
You look wonderful there in your down there in your big weather office. And we've got Dean Hatchett also. Dean, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here tonight. And Elliot Spokes, you're with us too tonight. Like that big American flag in the back there.
Yeah.
It looks great. That's outstanding. But Ms. McAlilly, 5 years ago, dreamed that she could launch a weather balloon. And she had no idea. Like, tell the story, Diane, about if you knew what you knew.
Well,
I
was on this WeatherBrains show in 2016. James said to me, he said, well, the project is off the chain on the cool factor, but the likelihood of it working is pretty slim. And I told him if I knew then what I knew now, I would never have even attempted it. It's not only an expensive project, but it just requires lots of time. And I was on a sharp learning curve, and Bill was great too. I learned about vorticity and how to run models and look at universal time and look at GFS models. And he taught me so much, and it's been fun to pass that along to the kids. But had we not had a very successful first launch where we reached 106,000 feet, that's still our record.
Wow.
And I remember being over at my niece and nephew's house. And we found the payload, and we got back and nervously get out the little tiny SD cards. And when we were looking at the footage, we could not believe the scene. I'll try to pull it up here in just a little bit, but we couldn't believe our eyes because we were outside of all the air and up in the stratosphere. And it was just a spectacular view of the sun. And we were just wowed, and it kind of has kept us coming back for more. But I will tell you, we've had 5 successful launches, and 350 kids per year have been able to experience this project. So it's just been fantastic.
And successful launch means you want to find the payload. So you have all that data and you have all that beautiful video, and to imagine, being able to track that and go find a needle in a haystack is pretty amazing. And there've been some funny stories we'll have to talk about along the way in that process. But let's talk about what goes into that, guys. You know, you guys were responsible. Elliot, Dean, Tatum, you guys were part of the team. You know, first we had to learn how to pick a perfect day. What went into that, deciding what was going to be a good day weather-wise? Anybody want to throw some things out there that you learned as we went along here? Who wants to start?
Well, I mean, I guess I'll start. First we had to like learn everything about like all of the, I mean, like Miss McAlery said, like all of the vorticity and the wind and everything, and the humidity, precipitation, and then it was hard to pick like the perfect day because we had to like we would find 3 days that would be really good, and then as we got closer to those days, 2 days would drop out because they like the precipitation would start coming through, or the jet stream would come down into like Alabama or something like that, and then as we got closer to the that last day that would be good, it would just like get bad again. So that was hard.
So
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Bill. So Tatum, would you like to have a job as an operational meteorologist then?
Yes, she'd be a great one. She pays great attention to detail and loves every phase of it. She just soaks it up.
Oh, that's
I
great.
thought Tatum, you were going to say something like we scheduled 3 days and 2 of them we couldn't do because we were in Alabama, and that's kind of what you said, because weather like that develops in the South, and it has been kind of challenging in a way.
Well, and the problem, you know, you start in August, you know, you'd like to launch in September probably, but the deeper you get into November, that jet stream starts really flying. And so those days get fewer and farther between, you know, along the way. So you guys had some parameters that you were looking at. What was the parameter for jet stream winds, and why was that important? You know, Elliot, talk about that for a second.
Well, we had to make sure that the jet stream wasn't too low. The 10-meter winds weren't too strong. We had to make sure the vorticity didn't have too much power. And basically, when we were looking at the GFS models, we had to make sure just nothing was over the state of Alabama, and it was kind of hard to find Alabama there. But Miss McAlery gave us a trick to find the tip of Florida, and then go up a little bit, and we could find Alabama and just check to see if anything was over there. And we just basically had to make sure nothing would affect the weather balloon as it went up.
And on the day of the launch this year, Dean, talk about that because y'all were a little nervous going in on that day because the jet stream was kind of strong that day, wasn't it?
The jet stream was, I mean, okay, I guess, but also it was kind of cloudy on that day. It didn't affect anything, but it kind of affected how we thought about how it was at first. But then we launched it, and the first one landed past Atlanta, and then the second one, which is the one I went to, landed just before it.
So, Mrs. McAlery, you're showing a scene from the 2016 launch, is that right?
I was trying to show when just that first view when we first got the video, how wild we were by it. And there's the burst. You can even see the helium coming out. I don't know if you can catch that.
Wow.
But,
Wow.
If I can figure out how to go backwards here. Here we go. I want you to see that come out again. It's pretty cool. And then I'll show you something else cool from this year too. So watch it. So we had 3 GoPros. And when this balloon burst this first year, we caught the helium. See it? Isn't that fantastic?
It's amazing.
And that's at 106,000 feet.
That's right.
So talk about the payload. Who helped build the payload, guys?
I did.
What went into that? Talk about it, Dean.
It was fun. We had a barometer and thermometer. We also had the anemometer, and we added a tile
Yes, we did. I'm glad you
And
mentioned that.
that helped us with the second one a
So
lot.
here's what he's talking about. So here is the onboard computer. It's all wrapped up in, but this is the probe, and it takes, tell them again what all we're measuring when on this little Eagle Pro computer.
We're measuring wind, air pressure, height, and temperature.
That's right. And so in learning it, we've learned a little something. We always put flotation on it. There's been a few years we thought
Few lakes in Alabama.
And we've learned to put lights. We've been in the woods really late at night a few times. You can see our lights. But this little thing, where's the towel? There it is. Y'all know what a towel does? Tell them, Dean, how this towel helped y'all.
So what it does is it connects to a device, and when you press the button, it starts making noises so you can find it. And so when we were looking for it, we thought it was in one area, and we kept pushing the tile, and someone's dad found it on the other side of the house.
We've tried to put lights. We have a GPS, and a GPS will get you in the neighborhood of 20 meters or so. But this little towel, I'm glad to know it helped. And then it does land in trees. So Elliot, you tell a little bit about how you came equipped. We tell them to think outside the box and think of every possible thing they need. So tell them what you did.
So I have like a military backpack, so I shoved that full of a bunch of stuff in my room. I had like some climbing gear, I had a knife strapped to the back of it, and I also brought my compound hunting bow. So me and my dad were the first people to stop at the place, and we were looking around for it, and then I saw a deer, and then my dad looks up and he sees it in a tree. And then a couple other people show up and they say, so we had to wait for everybody else to get there. And then
that was part of the rule.
Yeah, me and Wesley Newman climbed up, and we tied the inner part of paracord onto the end of an arrow, and then I shot it through the payload, and Wesley was a tremendous help with that. He was like holding the bow, he was switching spots, trying to get me a good angle, because I missed it 2 times and then finally got it through. So Wesley helped with a big part of that. But yeah, overall, it's just like really fun to kind of experience that.
Toy, that's thinking on your feet right there.
So I want y'all to imagine being, when you're in 6th grade, you learn about meteorology because I teach earth science. But you could learn the instruments that measure our weather in isolation and the units they use. But these kids, in preparing for this, learn to talk in millibars and in knots, and look at weather maps and look at those complex GFS models. And it's amazing. It gives them a why behind their learning. We do air pressure experiments and density experiments, but this gives them a real why learning experience. And so they just learn to talk in these weather terms, and they watch the weather differently, and just so proud of them. Like you can tell they're thinkers and they're wanderers. They have a sense of curiosity and wonder. So it makes me really proud of them.
Well, what is interesting to me, Dr. John, is that we can walk into a classroom and mention 10-meter winds, GFS models, and you have to call EMS for college students. And here I'm listening to these kids. It's amazing. Dean and Tatum and Elliot and you as the teacher, that this is amazing. I believe the earth may go on a few more days now because of young people like this. This is really amazing stuff. Good job, y'all.
And Tatum, you were excited about the data. Talk about some of the stuff that you learned and all that data.
It was really cool because we found the payload out of the tree, and we took a picture with it first, and then we went over, and Miss McAvoy got out of her computer, and we got out like all the chips, and we put it in her computer, and we got to watch all of the videos that this huge balloon has gone up like through the Earth's atmosphere, like just seeing so much, and it's just really cool. So just seeing all those things that like I helped with, or we all helped with.
So how cold did the probe get at its coldest point? Did y'all measure that?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was negative.
Yeah.
Was it negative 33?
No, I think it was negative 38. I have it written down. I can go check that.
So Fahrenheit, that is negative 38 Fahrenheit.
I think that was Celsius.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Celsius.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, it was there. It was
temperature
negative.
measurements were-
Yeah,
I
so it was
don't want to
minus.
mess. Can y'all see this now?
Yeah, there's
Yeah, yeah, there we
So
go.
this is what these students scroll through, and they learn how to read this 93 pages of this. But they learn how to find this
Latitude,
little
longitude.
computer does
Wow.
latitude,
that's
longitude,
6-second data.
6-second data, and they know how to convert Pascals into millibars. And I think we got down to, what did we say, air pressure, y'all?
I think it was like minus 50 something.
Well,
No,
in
not-
millibars, I think we got down to about 13 millibars. So we were
Yeah, that
we
makes
So
were
you're
out under about 99% of the air.
So you're 100,000 feet.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
This balloon was, what did we say?
18.3 miles.
18.3 miles this year.
Wow.
They
Wow.
almost were in the ozone, Dr. John. In the most ozone layer, I think.
This is mind-boggling. It really is.
But Dr. John, a few years back, I was up at Barrow, Alaska, in a part, and we did an upper air, and we went up to like 7 mil. This is STEM students. These are kids going up above 100,000 feet. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
It is. I agree. It is really good stuff.
I have a burning question.
Let's see. Let me try to do this one real quickly because I want y'all
Sure.
to see this. I don't want that. Can you see that?
Yes,
Oh, sure.
Y'all are seeing you're seeing the footage of it, right?
that's
Yeah.
the cloud
Yes.
pattern. Yeah.
So we had we had more clouds on this day than we've had in past launches, but I mean, it's breathtaking, isn't it?
It was beautiful.
Amazing.
I'm going to show y'all the burst. I want them to see the burst. I'll find it and let y'all tell about the balloon burst this year.
Dr. John, you asked your burning question.
Oh, I will.
All right, let's see. Can y'all see this? Well, hang on. I have to click. Uh-oh. Am I on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah,
see
we're-
this?
There we go.
Oh,
There
yeah.
you go.
So this year, in all these different years, we've had cameras that look out and look down, but we've never had one that we've been able to get a extended battery life in those cold temperatures to be able to capture this. But you know, these weather balloons, they say, can get 40 meters in diameter.
Yep.
Due to the lack of pressure. So this is 20 meters up from this camera view, but watch it because we finally got the burst.
What a beautiful scene.
Amazing.
Oh.
I'm gonna run it back. Look at the symmetry of the
Yeah.
burst when it goes.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Isn't that great?
Looks like a jellyfish.
Oh, that
or
is
something.
amazing. Yeah.
Are these cameras stabilized at all?
When what do you mean by stabilized?
Did you? They're not spinning, or unless they are.
Well,
They are with the payload, so you're not getting a sense of a spin. But did you try to keep?
Oh, you would be now. Let me switch back to. As it falls. I think I turned it off too soon. As it falls, we'll get a spin. Well, not on that one so much. We do a little every year. We try to have an ascent that gives us a maximum altitude without too much spin.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the downward looking cameras sometimes will be dizzying, but we do put little fish hooks, heavy duty swivels in line to try to cut down on some of the spin.
Okay. So my burning question is, there's a great video on the internet. It's a YouTube video of, and forgive me if it was your class that did this, but it shows the ascent like yours way above the cloud field. And then there's a commercial airliner that flies over the balloon. Now, my burning question is, how did you coordinate with the FAA to do this? And
Bill,
did
do you
you?
want to take this question?
Well, we used to coordinate with the FAA.
We tried. I have on my phone saved a message from the air traffic control in Atlanta, Hartsfield, and he was not happy with us because he had gotten word. But if we have researched, and if we're under 5 pounds, which we're at about 2 kilograms. If you're under 4 pounds, 5 pounds, you don't have to file a NOTAM or anything. So
Wow.
And that used to be one of the most fun things the first couple of years, was having the students, call in, go through the FAA, talk to the tower. They actually held the planes. I think the third year, the guy said, "Don't do that again. Just fly your balloon."
that was after he, let me know how he felt about it. But I think they held the flights for us for about 10 minutes at Birmingham Airport one year for us.
No kidding.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
it was pretty cool. That was for sure. So, yeah, I'm kind of bummed because the students had some great questions they were around tonight. But he's in Huntsville, and he's big in the amateur radio operations up there, so he couldn't join us tonight. But he flew a balloon around the earth 6 times. Y'all tell that story. Who wants to tell a little bit about it? Who wants to start? That you read Mr. Brown's article, and you had a lot of great questions to ask him tonight.
I have it right here, the article.
How in the world did he fly it around the globe 6 times? That's pretty amazing.
I have to find it.
I know he got it caught in the jet stream. And so it went around a lot.
So are y'all going to try that next, Tatum? Will that be your next trick to fly it around the world?
Oh no.
I've seen that. I've not talked to the kids about this, but there's that podcast about the Japanese. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? The Japanese.
Where they flew the paper bombs over.
Yes, they were doing helium-filled paper balloons that would get caught in the jet stream and get across the Pacific. And they say that you can still, that they don't know that they found them all in the Midwest. I mean, in the Northwest. But they learned to use that jet stream, but they didn't publicize it because they were worried it would incite the fear that they wanted it to incite. But it's a remarkable story to think about hanging something. My question for Mr. Brown was going to be, how did you hang it in the jet stream enough to circumvent the world 6 times in 75 days and hold it there?
Now, you said that your balloon payload was 2 kilograms, guys. Is that right?
It hovers between, I have it here. Every year it's a little bit different. Yeah, we try to be around 1250 grams. We've been up to, this year with 3 cameras, we were probably close to 2 kilograms, which is still under that threshold of.
But his balloon, his payload was more like 17 grams, if I remember correctly. So
yes,
I guess
it was
lighter
17.
must have helped. And,
yeah, Dean, you mentioned that it was 17 grams, which is like 17 jumbo paper clips, right? Not much.
And you added an amateur radio signal tracker this year too. You didn't just have a GPS. You actually used an amateur radio signal tracker too. Did that work well?
Well, it would have, and I'll tell you what happened. It was Bruce Tennyson is a amateur radio operator and has been, when you go on these treks to find these balloons, it's great bonding time with students and parents. We're out in the woods trying to figure out how to get something down from a big tree. So last year, 2 years ago, Bruce said, hey, you need to use a APRS tracker, StratoTrack, that will use shortwave radio. And so we had that hooked up this year. and we were releasing one of our balloons, and the cord snapped, and up went, you know, the $250 APRS tracker. However, it reached, and it would be about the weight that Dean was talking about, the 17 grams. It was about as big as a jump drive, and it reached over 100,000 feet, and it landed somewhere near Bremen, Georgia, but it had no payload or no sensor or anything on it, but we were able to track it. Matter of fact, some guys in, I think it was pinging in stations in Knoxville, Tennessee, and up in Asheville, North Carolina. So it's kind of cool.
So Troy, how would you balance the weight of the payload and the balloon and the amount of lift generated by the helium to get it to stay at a stable altitude for that long?
Yeah, I don't.
It seems impossible to me.
No.
Dr. John, what? I mean, it's not going to burst at 40,000.
No, you're trying to find a level of neutral buoyancy.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to figure out. And that's difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
You know what? I will say this. He did use a Mylar balloon, which would not be as sensitive to bursting, I would think, or maybe it would be more sensitive.
Well, you really powered up the helium this year, didn't you, Mrs. McLeod, if I remember, because you wanted to get up and through that jet stream, punch it, and then burst and come back down through it because you didn't want it to end up in Columbia, South Carolina.
Right. And by the way, we've used everywhere from 80 cubic feet of helium to, we were closer to, we get 125 cubic foot missile looking tank, and we used over 100 cubic feet in it this year in a 600-gram balloon. But the same day that we launched ours, someone, a friend of my old college roommate, said that Hartselle High School launched one that very day. So I guess they've been watching the parameters. And their balloon got caught in the jet stream and landed off the coast of Delaware and was out in the Atlantic. So they were getting signals through the night. And I'll tell you what happened to it. It hovered in the cold temperatures at night. Instead of bursting, the balloon shrunk back down, and they had planned on it bursting and coming back, but the cool temperatures shrunk it and hung it out there and carried it out into the Atlantic.
Wow.
That's what we've always threatened might happen if we got in one of those jet streams. What if we gotten in that jet stream last night, guys? Did y'all hear about the jet stream over the Atlantic that was pushing those transatlantic flights at record speeds across last night?
Elliot did.
Oh yeah.
But what happened with all that, Elliot?
So in social studies class, we listened to this thing called Kid News pretty often, and they told us about this flight from, like, I think it was like the US to England, and this one plane got caught in the jet stream, and it was going 825 miles an hour.
825?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that faster than the speed of sound?
Yep. But
is
the
about, well, you keep going.
yeah, the plane didn't break the
Sound
like the sound barrier. It was helped along by the jet stream. So
okay, I got you. So its ground speed was that fast. Oh,
Well, no, Dr. John, the plane got from, as Elliot mentions, it got from New York to London in 4 hours and 46 minutes.
I would have been on the return flight that day, and it would have been an 8.5 hour flight.
That's right. That's exactly right. There's a downside to that fast jet stream. Oh, wow.
You referred at one point, Mrs. McAlilly, to cost. How in the world do you pull these things off? You know, because they're not inexpensive to do.
That's the fun thing about where I'm privileged to teach, is if you think of a crazy creative idea, you've got great parents and community that'll support it. So I wrote a PTO grant, and they've made it their hallmark project now. That's kind of how they sell their gift wrap in the fall, is because it funds this awesome project with kids, not their gift wrap, the school supply packets, but the PTO is a great supporter. And this year we said, hey, we've got all this equipment, we've got payloads, we've got these computers, we've got a lot of the things that we already needed. And we just needed an extra balloon and more helium and some more cameras. And we launched 2 balloons because we have 456 graders smacked into this little building here. And we divided into 2 groups. And here's what's fascinating. You know, you wouldn't want one group to find it and one group not to. And we had 2 successful launches on the very same day. And everybody came home from Atlanta with a cool payload. And that's just remarkable.
That really is amazing. So how does this make you look at the weather differently, Tatum? When you look at the weather forecast, when you listen to James Spann or you look at the app on your phone, what does it make you think about the weather? How do you approach it differently now?
It really makes like a lot more sense now. I can I'll be explaining like I'll say it's gonna be cold tomorrow, and somebody will be like, "Oh, really?" And I'm like, yeah. And then I'll explain everything, and they're like, "Oh, that makes sense." Like they don't really understand it, but they kind of do. So it's just,
Use all those big words like vorticity and condensation. Explain Well, just
So-
tell them that 8 inches of rain is going to fall at Mr. Murray's house by tomorrow morning, and that he will be out all night shoveling gravel. So that's my weather forecast. When you look at an app, Elliot, what do you see now? Do you just see an icon and a temperature, or what do you see?
Well, when I was looking at the app, I saw the cold front symbol, and before, if I had looked at that app and hadn't been in Miss McAlee's class, I probably wouldn't have known whatever that meant.
Well, today you asked Mr. Murray earlier if we had a stationary front because of this.
Yeah, this blew my mind, John.
Constant rain, and Elliot just said, "Are we under a stationary front right now? Is that why we're having these sustained days of rain? Is it true, Mr. Murray?"
Yeah, I think it's actually progressing now, but it's essentially a stationary front. If you don't mind, could you stay up tonight while I'm shoveling gravel, Elliot? Maybe you could write some blog posts for me.
Oh yeah, sure, definitely.
I think that every one of us here would be willing to pay to have Tatum and Dean and Elliot be our spokespeople. I mean,
right?
Y'all are great, and you don't leave the teacher out of all this because it's so special what you do as well, and really amazing stuff.
It's a joy. It's a joy to watch them. Matter of fact, you were asking about the app. We say you look at the next 15 days. Where does that come from? And it makes them think, well, it was on the phone. I mean, where did it come from? And when these kids can scroll through GFS models and they learn Zulu time, and learn how to convert from and we launched this. Well, we planned it all of October, and we never could find an acceptable day. And then we had to go through daylight savings time ending and losing an hour of daylight. But they would know tell them what UTC time, Dean, what time would we look at universal time?
Like our time, or
no, when we would look at the models, what time would we look?
Close to like 14 to 15, I think.
1500. What do you remember, Tatum?
1800, because that'd be like noon.
Right.
Somewhere.
Right.
Exactly.
We've
But
looked at a few
Dean said-
18Z model runs, or 18Z model outputs, haven't we, Troy and Dr. John?
No, absolutely.
Yep.
And a few special soundings at 18Z.
Yep.
Yeah, a few special balloon launches, that's for sure.
Well, and Dean said 1400. We launched earlier this year than we have in the past because we knew we were losing that daylight time. And we did launch closer to 1400, but we would look through that window and look at the time. And they knew how to scroll back and forth between runs and look through the GFS models. And we would say there's a southern branch of the jet stream, and should we launch today? Should we not? So lots to, we had a cold front. Tatum, didn't you say we had a cold front on the way that was going to mess us up for a few days?
It was supposed to, or we were having a cold front, but it kind of drifted off. But like we were looking in those days, and then we realized that it was a cold front and we couldn't do it those days.
Yeah, and I think it was funny because one of the teachers, the other outstanding teachers, because there's a whole group of teachers that work with Mrs. McAlilly, but Coach Tidwell, one of the other science teachers, was an adamant supporter of going on Monday, and they were waiting till Tuesday. And I bet he still hasn't let you hear the end of that because everyone told him it was going to be bad on Monday, and it turned out to be a perfect day.
Yeah, and he's young enough to remember what the weather was like on Monday. And I all the launches kind of get scrambled in my head, but people would say it's a beautiful day for a launch, but the kids knew that it wasn't just if it was sunny or not. They knew to look at models and upper level winds and things that on a sunny day you don't see.
So how big is this balloon when you get ready to launch it, Dean? What size was it when you were up there getting ready to send it into space?
I can't remember, but it was somewhere around like 6 to 10 feet, maybe.
Okay.
Like as big as a refrigerator or like big as a house? How big was it?
Definitely smaller than a house. And I think it might have been a little bit. It was definitely bigger than a refrigerator. It was about the size of like, I don't know, if you cut a normal sized couch into thirds, take 2 of those, and that'd be about the size of the balloon.
There you go. So that's why you were worried about those 10-meter winds, right? Because it's kind of hard to handle that balloon when it's windy.
Mm-hmm. We also have trees all around the launch area, so if we launch it and we have bad winds, then it can mess us up.
Yeah, we don't need the fire department having to come get our balloon out of the tree, do we? Well, of course we have Elliot and his outstanding rigging done on the end of a bow and arrow there that can get down from anywhere.
Let me tell you a couple of quick things about that. One time the GoPro camera, we're watching the footage afterwards, and when I tell you it turned and it swiped, it missed the top of a pine tree by maybe a foot or two. And then one year we lost a payload and we had everything. I always get backup helium and backup balloon, but we're sitting there thinking, I realized that we've put the whole thing back together, but we don't have a parachute. So we're used to having this 1 meter parachute. So I ran back up to the classroom. I have an engineer for a dad who just thinks about every little problem solving thing he can. But I got a giant trash bag, the biggest black trash bag we have in school, and tied a knot in the end of it and strings, and we launched it. And that trash bag was a great parachute coming down because it'll fall at about 4 meters a second at some point. So we've had to improvise through the years, and we've added to it, made it better. And we've also had some troubleshooting to do right on time, right on the spot.
So Mrs. McAlilly, what's your advice to other teachers that might be interested in doing this in their classes, other than run, don't do it?
No, do it. Yeah. But again, you have to work in a place that says, one of the first things I heard when I came here was kids need to see you take risks and fail and how you handle that. And so it's been successful. And I don't know if we would be talking right now if it had failed. But I've just always been afraid to fail if I couldn't do something just right. And that I was told, just try it. And so I would tell other teachers, think outside the box, think of something that would excite you and the kids and attempt it and learn all you can and go for it. And, we just go for it is what I would say. And that's easier said than done because there were a lot of long nights studying and trying to figure out what in the world we were doing.
Well, one of your 6th grade math teacher associates there, Becky Boykin, her saying was failure's not an option.
That's right.
Because our son John came back from Huntsville with a mug from the Space and Rocket Center that said that, so he could give it to her because that was her saying, and failure's just not an option at this case. But if you're going to fail fast and learn from it. And
fail forward's what we like to say.
Well, where do you tell them to start? Mrs. McElroy?
Well,
Where would they go to begin this process?
I would go to, watch YouTube, and I use Eagle Pro high altitude science products. And now that we've done it, we realize how we could build payloads on our own. There are people who've launched weather balloons in coolers and using GoPro. So you can devise that, but I would probably say, look on YouTube, search the web. I just didn't know what I was doing. And fortunately, Mr. Murray was here at school for a band concert. And I said, hey, I've got this harebrained idea. And I had no idea what I was doing. I can remember sitting in this classroom, looking at models with you, you might as well have been speaking Mandarin. I didn't understand much, but just go with it and learn. You kind of have to once you get committed to it.
And the first time you get in front of the kids and you teach it, you're like, oh, this might just go over like a lead proverbial balloon. But that not at all, not one single time in 5 years was there anything but bright, energized, excited faces that grasped it within the first hour. Because you only have a couple of hours with each class. And
that's right. And I will show our let me find something that I'll show y'all. This is I gotta get back to my screen here. Hang on. This is trainer extraordinaire in action right here. You see that?
Oh, brother.
Yeah, that looks like the Bill we know. Yeah.
So he and Scott Martin come and spend a couple of days helping train these kids, and so they do get engaged, and he's taught us how to teach them better, and every year we get a little bit better.
Well, the amazing thing is Mrs. McAlily will assign a day out 16 days in the future to each one of the teams, and then the teams have to forecast for that day, and then they have to stand up and defend their forecast, which is amazing. And more than one team will have the same day because there's so many kids, and it's always cool to see when they disagree, because they have to work their way to a consensus, because it's like the old Apollo launches, go or no go, and they go through all their parameters and they'll say go or no go. And sometimes, a team that likes to take a little more risk might, say, let's launch on that day. And did y'all ever run into that? Elliot, Dean, Tatum, did y'all, when you were practicing, did you ever disagree with your classmates on whether a day was going to be a good day or not?
Yeah, we did a couple of times. Like some people were seeing a little bit over the top of Alabama that could grow into something bigger, and then some people could see nothing at all. So there wasn't really a total consensus between a lot of that, but
you worked it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had thresholds, so they sort of let some of those numbers do the talking when they had to. But there's a little, I don't know if y'all can see this little orange sign right back there, but it says argue from evidence. So they learn how to reason their way through looking at data, and we were confined by that. We had some great Saturdays, didn't we? And that confined us, and Sundays, and that would confine us. So yeah, they learned how to work.
A teacher work day guaranteed perfect weather for a long. Just seemed like. I never could talk the kids though, Tatum, into coming back up there on Saturday on a holiday. Nobody ever wanted to do that. That just really surprised me.
These three would have wanted to, for sure.
Well, I'm just amazed by you guys. You're incredible. James, I know you're not feeling well, but you probably got a question or two you want to ask this group before.
So, sixth grade science, how hard is that to teach? I'm a third grade science guy. Third graders understand me. I don't know what it is. Third graders and we connect on a deep level. You get up to sixth grade and they got hormone problems and they smell weird. And it's just. So how hard is it teaching sixth grade science? Tell us why we should be teaching sixth grade and not third grade.
Oh, the sixth grade, they're they're still interested and not too cool for school, and they're just delightful, and they're able to grasp these complex ideas. And there are some in every class. You have to know that people are at different levels of wanting to know and understanding. But I love sixth grade just because I just want to foster a sense of wonder in them, and they're able to wonder with facts, not they're able to dig in. And right now we're beginning to talk about seismology and earthquakes, and they have more questions. I just have to run to keep up with them.
Well, you're actually, I mean, I don't know that I like this, but on the other hand, you're teaching critical thinking skills.
Sure.
I am. I hope so, because that's what they're going to be doing the rest of their life.
Exactly. We have a hard time teaching that in college.
I know it.
Your job security may be at risk here, Troy.
we can't teach that at the University of Texas.
Oh, you know, in a very subtle way, you are asking these sixth graders to assess uncertainty.
Exactly.
And make a decision based on some, like you were saying, some measure of the parameter field that you're discussing. I just find this totally astounding to me. I have to tell you one thing. When I was working at NASA, my mentor is Dr. Joanne Simpson, who was the first female meteorologist to obtain a PhD. And she used to say to me, sixth graders is where it's at. You grab them in sixth grade because that's the key time, the key opportunity. After that, not necessarily so. So you have grabbed your sixth graders and endowed upon them the love of learning, which I truly admire.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. I have taught eighth grade, and I will say they're not quite as interested in learning. But all these kids, I've got some juniors at the high school that just remember doing this project when they were sixth graders. So the thing is if I can just do anything to prolong that sense of wonder, if something squeezes it out of most of us, but to get them to continue to just be amazed at the world around them is my goal.
And this is going to be something they'll never forget. Right. They won't. This will be something they will never forget. And that helps people like Dr. John. It helps people at the university level because it increases that wonder with the world around us. And I have a great amount of admiration for the work you do in the classroom.
Oh, so do I.
So what's the next big thing?
The next big thing is, I coach robotics. So the next big thing is our kids have designed robots that have a task. It's like having a 12 by 12 video game on the floor, and they have tasks. So we have 3 out of our 6 teams at Pizzitz have qualified for the state tournament at Auburn University, and we've been invited to the U.S. Open in Iowa in April. So just to have kids continue to build and program and use strategies with robots. But in the classroom, we're headed into volcanoes and earthquakes and viscosity, and we're going to even blow up a trash can volcano here before long.
Now, Mrs. McAlewy, I saw a few years ago where they have such a lightning problem in Central Florida that one of the robotics teams helped either the National Weather Service or someone with a robot that would take the balloon out to launch. So maybe you can combine the two here somehow.
We'll have a hybrid project between those two things. I like it.
And one thing I did see recently might be your next big thing is there have been some high altitude balloon tests with cosmic rays, measuring cosmic rays. So maybe you could look into that and get these 3 fine young folks right here to do some research and come back and study cosmic rays. And maybe
see, that's where we're moving into space, our space unit soon. With the upcoming lunar Artemis project, you do see how, gosh, can we do this and measure cosmic rays? And that translates into how we would measure micrometeoroids on the moon and things like that. So all of it hopefully ties together. And like you said, we do a mission control on the days of launch, and the kids have to learn to go through the launch sequence and say go or no go. So it's neat to look at all the different ways it can translate into meteorology or astronomy, whatever their interests are.
But I have to say, Tatum and Dean and Elliot, you guys are amazing, and you were outstanding on the show tonight. Thank you for your input. James, I'll let you ask anything else you want to ask, and everybody gets 2 extra hours tomorrow, James, because of the rain. You know, they get a late start time tomorrow.
Wasn't that a great message to get? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, thank you. This was a great discussion. And again, it's fascinating what you're doing. When I was in 6th grade, the big deal was taking a field trip down to the post office. I mean, you know, you guys are blessed to have such a great teacher and a great school system that supports you and does all this marvelous stuff. So thank you all for coming on the show tonight. It's just great. We appreciate the time you've given us, and you guys have a great week and stay dry.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to get to talk about our project.
Oh, and if a teacher somewhere in the country wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that? Like email or
email at the Pizitz Middle School website. Email me or get in touch with, I don't know, what's the best way? I can tell you
your Twitter account.
My Twitter account, Macalily D, and I'll be happy to help anyone along. A couple of years ago, we presented at the Alabama Science Teachers Association. Happy to help someone get started. It's a great project.
Awesome. Well, all right. Thank you all so much, and y'all have a marvelous week, and enjoy your 2 hours tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Let's take a quick.
Bye.
We're gonna see Tony Rice here in the Astronomy Report. We'll come back with the weather roundup, picks of the week, and much more as WeatherBrains rolls along.
Looking beyond the atmosphere, here's Tony Rice with your astronomy outlook.
Last night's full moon was a supermoon, at least by one definition. Believe it or not, there are 5 competing definitions for something that has its roots in astrology, not astronomy. Common to them all is that the full moon occur within 90% of the moon's perigee, or its closest approach to Earth. Where they diverge is how to calculate that 90%. Some use constant numbers as thresholds. Sky and Telescope magazine uses nice round imperial units, labeling a full moon within 223,000 miles of Earth as super. TimeAndDate.com prefers their round units metric, drawing their line at 360,000 kilometers. That's a difference of about 700 miles. Others choose more relative rules. Astrophysicist Fred Espernak prefers full moon at perigee over supermoon and measures that 90% within each roughly monthly orbit of the moon. Richard Knoll, the astrologer who originally coined the term, sticks with the 90% rule but draws his line at the closest perigee of the year. He never said why he chose this definition or why he chose 90% in the first place. Our final definition comes from the man who inspired it all, NOAA hydrologist Fergus Wood, who unknowingly started the whole thing with his 1970s paper on coastal flooding during perigee and spring tides. These occur 3 to 4 times a year when the sun is added to the Earth-Moon alignment mix that created the new and full moons in the first place. It was this paper that Knoll was reading when he coined supermoon. Wood's definition is the simplest by far, and it's a temporal one. He points to new or full moons that are separated from perigee by 10 hours or less. Adding yet another term to the mix, proxygee, approximable perigee. I kind of like it. Confused yet? Don't be. There's no official definition because there's very little science going on here. So which moving supermoon goalpost should we pick? The astrophysicist, the hydrologist, the journalist, or the astrologer? It's up to you. Personally, I like the astrophysicist definition the best. It combines the basis of the definition from the astrologer who coined it, without bringing the solar year into it for no good reason. But I admit the hydrologist's time-based definition is pleasingly simple. So summing up the super snowmoon, it's a no from the hydrologist, no from both journalists, no from the astrologer, but a yes from the astronomer. That's your astronomy outlook. Follow me at RTP Hokey for more spacey stuff like this.
When the weather ball is red, warmer weather is ahead. When the weather ball is white, colder weather is in sight. When the weather ball is green, no change in the weather is foreseen. When colors blink by night or day, precipitation's on the way.
So I think Bill Murray knows what the weather's doing in his place. It's raining.
I know it's not
Flooding?
flooding, James. My patio is dry, and well, it's not dry, but it's at least not standing in knee-deep water,
Yeah.
and there's no gravel going down the driveway. But I do see a confirmed tornado southeast of Yazoo City, Mississippi. That's not a good sign.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, I've been watching
Tornado warning just
that.
came out. Yeah.
But I'm looking at some of the rain numbers. Crestwood, which is the eastern part of Birmingham, 4.13. What was your total today, Bill? 4
Let me
point
give you
something?
an updated number. It's 4.43 right now. Up to the minute.
443.
Yeah. So the radar is underrepresenting it slightly, because if you look at the pixel that's right above us, I think we're right at 3 inches now. So some of those rainfall totals on the radar are probably underrepresented.
I'm seeing 4.8, but whatever. It's been a soaker down here, and we're going to have the chance of severe storms again west of the state tonight where we are, but we have a chance of severe storms Wednesday night. One of these middle of the night spin up deals, which are just so hard to deal with. But John, what's happening up in the great Northland up there?
James, well, I guess two thoughts come to mind. One would be where we are in terms of this winter, temperature-wise. We're currently, I think, 4th warmest on record, and we have a chance of being number 2.
Did you see the record positive AO reading today?
Really?
Yeah.
Remarkable.
I can't. I want to say it was WPC. Somebody at WPC with NOAA, they said this is the highest observed Arctic oscillation value on record today.
Really?
And that thing has just been so positive all season long, and it just doesn't want to change.
No, and that may be overriding the neutral phase of the ENSO right now, which, you know, when you have a neutral phase, you don't quite sure whether kind of winter you're going to end up with. But this has been acting like an El Nino winter up here. I think we've had 5 inches of snow and ice, emphasis on ice. But as we move through February, looks like we're going to end up being in the top 4 all time in terms of average temperature. March, we'll see what March delivers. But that's one thought that came to mind. The second one is the remarkable weather pattern that we experienced on Friday that produced an unbelievable low pressure reading where I live here, 979 millibars.
Yep.
Remarkable, absolutely remarkable. And my pick of the week, which we'll get to in just a minute, deals with what happened just to our south on Friday.
Well, Dr. John, you sent along the METARs from the airport there.
Oh, yeah, right.
Nothing else. They're amazing. I actually saved those to use.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's our last 90 days here at Birmingham. This is before today's rain. They've gotten over 2 inches of rain at the airport here.
Yeah.
But we've gotten 22 inches over the last 90 days at the Birmingham airport. And I think we've exceeded that here, but we're approaching 10 inches above normal now at BHM.
Wow.
And Troy, it did snow in Austin, right?
Late last week. We had snow.
There were more flakes than normal in the state capital.
Actually here, I guess, when was it? Last Wednesday night? Yeah, because
same storm system.
Yeah, same storm system, and we it snowed here really large flakes for about 3 or 4 hours, and it got rather moderate toward the end. Ended up at the co-op site here that I maintain here at the house with 2 tents officially. So it wasn't enough to cover the ground, but it was enough to at least get 2 tents out of it. Also, I'm looking at, you mentioned it, Bill, the storm between Yazoo City and Canton, Mississippi right now, the one that we're looking at that tornado warning for out of the WFO in Jackson. It's really kind of interesting, not really that high reflectivities in the area, but there northwest and west of Canton, Mississippi, you could see a little bit of a circulation, at least some rotation, both in the base velocity and storm relative velocity, although it's not as pretty now, but there you go. Yeah.
So, and we should also mention, we had snow down here in the southeastern states.
Right.
Saturday morning, it was coming down in parts of northeast Alabama. I mean, parts of the high terrain features up there had 2-3 inches of snow, and it was just beautiful. But then just like that, we're back up to 60 today with rain and flooding, and we'll probably be in the 70s here on Wednesday. So,
well, I mentioned this for John because John's going to get tired of hearing this, us geeking out on this. But that morning, Thursday morning, James, I think I sent y'all all this, that we were getting on the other side of this thing, and I looked at a visible satellite picture, and the first time ever in our area that I recall seeing a little snow swath on the visible imagery. We had about a ½ inch of snow in some areas northeast of Austin. Those lasted through the course of the next hour and a half in the visible imagery. It disappeared, and we were up to 70 by 4 to 48 hours.
Talk about a snow eater.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and Kevin sent that picture of 6 inches.
Yep.
Where he is. And my response to that was, Kevin, you've had more snow in 24 hours than we've had the entire winter season up here. And it's not like
really?
I live.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not living in Florida. I'm living in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
By the way, didn't I win that forecast contest for Wichita Falls last week? We need to go back and listen to last week's show, and I think I won. I don't know what you win, but I was Troy. You were on the show. I mean,
no. I think you're probably closer. I'm still thinking about tonight. The show title tonight is definitely what James Spann referred to his middle schoolers as. What was that again? Smelly.
Smelly. Smelly.
Hormones.
They got hormone problems and they smell weird. I mean, it's just,
there's the show title for you.
Yeah,
right?
that's a good show title, no doubt. Hormone problems and they smell weird.
And I'll go with you winning on the Wichita Falls snow too.
So let me chase one rabbit here. So we've got these flooding issues here today. I don't even know what half this stuff means. We've had aerial flood warnings, flood warnings, flash flood warnings, aerial flood advisories. Then you go flood advisories, this aerial flood, no aerial, yes aerial. What does all this mean? I mean,
it doesn't mean anything except it's confusing to the general public. And I thought the Weather Service said we're going to try to clean this up a little bit, and it hadn't been cleaned up, in my opinion, that much. So,
no, it's a mess. I was looking on the blog. One of the posts said aerial flood watch upgraded to flash flood watch. Said, well, what is it? An upgrade, downgrade? I don't even. It's just like we're hung up on these terms, and if we don't understand it, I guarantee you, Joe Q Public doesn't understand it. What happened to this HasSimp thing? Where we're going to come in here and make this simple and clean it up?
Nope.
And you read some of these AFDs, and they're so worried about aerial flood watch or flash flood watch. It's like my head starts to spin. And I honestly don't. When these watches are issued, you got some darker green and some lighter green and some bluer green, and they're all different because the WFOs have different kind of watches and warnings that butt up to each other. I don't get it. I mean,
how well can you perceive that color difference? That to me, why don't we just call this a flood issue, and then within the impacts just list what the impacts are?
Yes.
Well, I mean, flood watch, flood advisory, and flood warning. I mean, I understand the hydrology, the river side of it, that may need a little special treatment, but it is too complicated. And the most confusing color in the world, God love them, is that Weather Service map with all the different colors all across the country.
Yes.
That is a very confusing map.
122 possibilities.
I after about 20 people asked me, what does aerial mean? What does aerial flood mean? I'm just going to stop using that word. I'm going to have to just axe it. So
it was a Disney cartoon character, didn't you know? Ariel.
Exactly.
The Little Mermaid.
That's exactly right.
All right, so let's morph over here into picks of the week, because I'm the lead. I'm probably going to be the lead all week long. Let's do picks of the week. Aubrey's not here tonight. We'll do the email next week. So let's go around the horn and share something that is weather related. John, you got to have something cool, because I saw you sharing something really cool earlier.
Oh yeah, well that was the Knoll School streamline analysis, which is always amazing. But my pick of the week actually is a product issued by the Weather Service office in Sterling, and it talks about Friday's weather. And up until Friday, there had only been 4 tornadoes ever reported in the state of Maryland in the month of February since 1950. And over 2 hours on Friday, there were 5 of these. So we had a dramatic weather event, which we were talking about earlier with Troy, about this area of low pressure that went right over the top of us. And it was attended by a narrow cold frontal rain band that had some broken S's in it. And it was absolutely ideal for these short spin-ups, which actually raised the question, how do you deal with short-lived tornadic signatures in a QLCS, which come and go within 1 or 2 volume scans? You just put out a warning for the entire length of the line, which I think some weather service offices are doing now. But that was an extraordinary event. And I remember thinking as I watched my analog barometer keep going down and down, I'm thinking, oh man, when we get to the other side of this, the wind is going to howl as that air flows back in. And that's what happened. So my pick of the week is the Sterling Weather Office report from Friday's weather.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, John. Troy, what you got for us this week?
I sent y'all the link. By the way, the first time in history, write this down, that Troy's been prepared with the pick for the week.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Checks and cash accepted.
Miracles do happen, ladies and gentlemen.
Aerotime Hub, and it's called aerotime.aero is the website. They do a lot of good aviation stuff. And guys, I don't know if you saw the article I sent you, but this Pegasus Airlines flight in Istanbul.
Yeah, I did read that.
And apparently landed in a storm, and they went off the end of the runway. And then to come find out, this is a quote out of the article I'm reading now, the chief public prosecutor's office announced the 2 pilots of PC 2193 will be heard upon suspicion of negligence that led to death and injury. It ends up that the aircraft landed with a tailwind, 19 knots, gusting to 29 knots. It was a 737-800. The plane broke in half. 183 people evacuated, 179 injured, 3 people died in the hospital. I thought we were sort of beyond this, but it is what it is. But it's a really amazing story.
All right, Bill Murray, what you got for us?
Well, my picks of the week are all the upcoming guests, James. We've got Rich Jacobs next week.
Wait a minute, I got to blow this.
Thought I was going to get away with it there. We got a fun show next week. Rich Jacobs, who's the president of Cantor Fitzgerald, their trade weather division, is going to be on with us talking about that. We're excited about that. Dr. Cliff Mass will join us for that special Tuesday night show on the 25th. We'll follow him up with Dr. Dana Carlos, who's kind of the other side of that story a little bit the following week from NOAA. Then Curtis Alexander will be talking about the National Mesonet that 9th day. And then Will Hathaway out of your region down there, Troy, will join us on the 16th. And then Hurricane Glenn Schwartz will join us on the 23rd. And we're still holding out hope that Dr. Sarah K. McBride, the earthquake expert from New Zealand, will join us on the 30th. But it just keeps on getting better from there. We got great guests coming up all the way through the month of April. We're now well out into May. So if you got any guest suggestions, send them to our email at weatherbrains.com, and we will follow up on it. The best information you can send us is really helpful. An email address or a Twitter account or some way that we can reach out to them. Even better than that, it's a phone number or something. But I appreciate all the help because we get most of our great guests from our viewer suggestions.
So what show is this, James?
Episode 734.
I don't know. This thing could fly. I don't know. It just may work.
I think we should give it a couple more years.
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
Oh, really? Hey, by the way, we get text. I have to give a shout out to my buddy Jeff out in Pueblo, Colorado. He is reporting an inch of snow on the ground tonight out there. So you maybe you can see that. Now you can't see it, but so they got a little snow out there. So we even get these distant reports from our friends and things. It's really amazing.
Good. And by the way, my pick of the week is the foghorn.
I thought that was just your wheeze and cough after this.
Yeah. I'm on my deathbed back here. All right, but I gotta go. I gotta become I got to somehow get my act together for this TV thing here. So listen, WeatherBrains typically is done every Monday night at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. If you want to get in touch with us, the email address, it is email@weatherbrains.com. Our picks of the week will be on the website there as well. So, hey, thanks for listening, and we'll hope to see you guys next week. On behalf of the entire WeatherBrains crew, I'm James Spann. Thanks for listening. Have a great week, and God bless. Woo, I feel rough. I'll see you guys. had to blow that one too. We'll see you guys.
Take care. Get feeling better, James.
Take care now.
Okay. Bye-bye.